Hello, Jordan.
What's up, Michael?
Back on Instagram. 30-some days, 37 days. I don't know the exact number off. And I'm back on.
You're back on. No scrolling, though, right?
No doom scrolling, but just poking around. And yeah, I mean, you're scrolling a little. Not like clicking a video and then just going into the ether for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's actually really interesting. The two biggest things I noticed right out the gate were, one, it's so much less negative than Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like Twitter's just angry and on edge. And two, something I like about Instagram that I didn't realize was the number of people who I engage with in the DMs that are like, you know, my friend that I grew up with in my neighborhood who sent me a video that I would have never saw, or there were probably like 10 or 15 of those where I'm like, all right, I should probably be in here.
Oh, wow. You want to be back on Instagram.
Yeah.
Nice.
Responsibly.
Just as like
Responsibly,
a
Jordan.
consumer and as like an interactive with like your locale, not like as a creator.
That's what I meant in that sentence, yes.
Yeah,
but you never know, really, do you? You just never know.
You never know when Mike is just going to hop back on the creation crane, 100 videos in it, 100 days in a row content creation.
Dude, you don't know when Jordan's going to do it. Actually, you do.
Yes, you do.
Always.
Basically every day.
Bro, daily uploads by Jordan Syatt on the Personal Trainer Podcast Instagram page.
Well, that was the first thing you noticed on Instagram. You were like, bro, 2 posts in all of February? What the fuck?
Not all of February to date.
Well, as of that, now I've been posting daily. So, yeah.
How does it feel?
Dude, it feels great. I love posting on that page. It's good. Yeah. Yeah, very little engagement. And
that's why you like posting on that page?
I can post on there and there's going to be no arguments. The little engagement we do get is just positive. It's like, I love this. This is the best.
Yeah.
Yep. I like it a lot.
Good, bro. So daily until 2033?
Daily until death, dude.
No, I'm not going to make you commit to that here. But daily for a decade seems more reasonable.
At least. At least.
Bro, how's the new house?
Bro, it's good, man. It's a house. You know, you're going to be here in a few days. We've been delayed on the blackout curtains, by the way, just so you know. So I've been like telling my wife, like, we need to get some off Amazon because Mike is going to be here soon. So
dude, you're the best.
We're going to get some. We're going to get some. We're going to make sure that you're covered because I was like, if they're not here, Mike isn't staying here.
Like, I would try. I would try. Honestly, I probably would because your place when you were in downtown, you know, downtown is just lit up compared to suburbs, compared to like further away from downtown.
And we're putting you in the darkest room in the house too. So
what a guy. What hosts. I can't wait.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be really
good. We got a little like swing set set up for my daughters, and my oldest just loves it, just obsessed. And Curtis loves the yard. He's just running around. You know what sod is? Do you know what sod is? Yeah. So like we laid down all this sod, and he ripped a bunch of it up, which was great. And
you can walk on it right away, right after they lay it.
Oh yeah, yep.
Nice.
I mean, I have been.
They didn't give you any instruction. I'm sure you're fine then.
Yeah, no one told me not to. So been walking on it, playing soccer with him, and got the rock wall set up, which is really fun. Very, very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, man. It's good. It's good.
That's awesome.
And then you're going to be here next week. We're filming the Instagram growth guide.
You're filming the Instagram growth guide. I'm hanging out.
We are filming the Instagram growth guide.
I mean, I'll be there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
My contribution on Instagram is not... I'm 6 years removed from social media, Jordan. And
No, I get it.
in fairness, when we started the mentorship, you made the Instagram growth guide and I made the coach's guide for nutrition.
Correct. Yeah. Now just the landscape for nutrition hasn't changed, and the landscape for Instagram has radically changed. So it needs a real update. It's funny, like all of the basic nutritional foundations still hold true, and I will say the basic foundations of Instagram hold true in terms of there are some things in the guide that will stay the same, but those are things of just basic fundamental communication, content creation, understanding, attention. That's like the principles, the foundations. That stays the same in the same way nutrition does. But the delivery system, the method of transportation, the creation process, the editing, the strategy behind it has changed. It's flipped on its head. It is wildly different than it was 6 years ago.
And different than it was 6 months ago, even, it seems.
Yeah,
or
correct.
6 to 18 months ago, I guess.
It's changing constantly. It's rapidly changing all the time. And there's this guy, I'm not going to say his name. I bet a lot of people know who it is. He's like, I don't know if he's the CEO of Instagram. He's like one of the main guys. You know who I'm talking about?
I do.
He comes on Instagram and he like gives tips on how to use Instagram. And I think he either is lying or literally has no clue what the fuck he's talking about.
Really?
Yeah.
What are a couple of the things that he said?
Well, so for example, you learn things from actually using the platform more than just being told about it. Or I think he's going based off of what his intuition might tell him rather than based off of actually using the platform. And the difference with him is the reason his platform grew is because he's so big within Instagram. And so people have followed him because they want to know what's going on with Instagram and he's the one running it. Not because he has organically built this audience based off of something unique that is whether it's anything, whether it's carpentry, whether it's being a coach, whatever it is. Like there are people who build their audience because they're really good at what they do, not because of people are using his platform and they want to know how to better use his platform, or they want to, who knows, I'm sure many people follow him because they want the hopes of getting to know him and who knows, being favored by him, whatever it is. One example, this is one of many, is he answered a question that said, if you want to get more reach on your post, you should share it on your stories, which logically would make sense. Logically would make sense that if you want your post to get more reach, you put it on your stories so more people will see it. Dude, I've done this. I've tested this hundreds of times. Every time I share a post of mine from my feed to my story, it number one, it down regulates my story, so my story gets fewer views.
It's worse story content.
And the number of people who actually click the post from your story to your feed is minuscule. So it's actually worse to share a story from your feed onto share a post from your feed onto your story. It's actually, you get worse engagement overall. And he said, no, if you want to increase it, you do that. I'm like, okay, you're just making this up based on what you think it should be, which I agree. I think it should be that, but practically that's not the case. And it's interesting to go into his comment section because he's always talking about these are ways to get more engagement, and the comments are filled with people like, just let the people who followed me see my content more. Like that's all we want. Just go back to if they hit follow, show them my content. Like I don't want to play this fucking game.
The Instagram has given the consumer that option.
I don't think they have. I don't, because I've even turned off posts from people that I'm not following and I still get them.
Brother. If you click the Instagram, like on the top left, it says the words Instagram.
Yeah. If you scroll down your feed. Yep.
No, and then right there, it says following or favorites. You can just click following and you get a feed of only people you follow.
Correct. That's true. But as soon as you click a video and then you scroll down, now you're in the ether again. You don't only get who you're following. You jump right back into the chat roulette type. All right, whoever we're going to get.
Chat roulette. What a throwback. Right? Nope. These are all
Yeah.
people. These are all people I follow.
Hold on. Let me see.
Your point stands in that Instagram prioritizes the like quote unquote for you feed.
Yes, correct.
Like that's the main feed. With their goal being maximize minutes on app per day.
Yeah, correct.
But yeah, as someone who has their business on Instagram, obviously, you know, you would prefer if more of your followers saw your posts. That's for sure.
Correct. So, yeah, man, big changes coming to Instagram Growth Guide. Going to show a lot of how I shoot my own videos because I do everything. Like for my Instagram, it's all on my phone. Like I just do it myself. So I'm going to show how I do it. I'm going to show like how I film it, how the different takes that I'll do, the editing portion of it, the content creation strategy side, how I come up with ideas. Like I'm going to show all of it. So I think it's going to be very helpful in the new Instagram landscape.
I love it. And the way that the guide sits now, there's, what were there, 8 videos in the first edition?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And so many of them will get replaced, but then even going forward 6 months or 12 months down the road, if 1 or 2 things have changed, we can just swap those out. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
We got a system. Yeah, I'm excited. What else? I feel like this is a common question we get, and this is a real Jordan question, but what are some more of the big changes that you've seen on Instagram? And I guess what are, for someone who wants to grow their audience, who's in the fitness space or an online fitness coach, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you're seeing? What should people be doing differently?
You know, it's really interesting. So this is when I grew my audience, when I like started to grow it, like when it started to really take off in like 2017, when it really started to go a little bit crazy, it was really built on infographics, which the interesting thing about infographics is like they're inherently a little bit more boring. There's not really personality. It was purely education to the point of like, here's a simple, easy way to visualize this message. And that was it. And it was things that were easy to look at, easy to share, easy to screenshot. You got all the information you needed. Now, that doesn't work nearly as well. And I think the major reason is because the knowledge back then, it was so much less common. So few people knew that stuff. And the infographics really distributed that knowledge pretty rapidly to a huge amount of people. So I think it was novel at that time. But now, like intermittent fasting and calorie counting and all these things, they're not novel anymore. To some people they are, but so many people now know them. They're relatively common. Even you go into a regular bookstore nowadays, you see these titles and terms everywhere. Like even like a cousin of mine will be like, "Oh, I'm doing intermittent fasting." I'm like, that didn't happen 10 years ago.
Right.
10 years ago, it was like people were like, "Are you sure you want to be doing that? Like that sounds dangerous," type thing. Now it's not about as much about here's what I'm trying to say. Now you need to have, I think it's important to have more of a personality. I think your own personality needs to shine through, because if it is a little bit more bland, if it is a little bit more, if it's just information based without any personality to come with it, it becomes very difficult to connect with you. And in a world in which there are so many people putting out so much of the same or similar content, you need a way to stand out. And before, the way to stand out was you just through education, just through that. And there are still ways to do that. But in order to stand out with education, you've got to be saying things that the vast majority of people don't know, which is why, for example, I mean, one of the reasons, like there's a guy named Dr. Ids, who I think is really good. Like he's really good at referencing research and putting out a lot of science-based information that most people don't know or don't really have full access to or understanding. Lane Norton is another example, although Lane is also a little bit more, he has a good personality with it too, but also like Lane, Dr. Ids, there are some food scientists out there who have access to very high level knowledge that the vast majority of us don't. And so I think that's what allows them to stand out. But for most of us who are putting out stuff for the everyday individual, you don't need to be putting out that level of scientific research-based content, but you do need to have some level of personality. You do need to give them a reason to want to stay, which is you. And if you are not either exciting or endearing or giving them a reason to connect with you, to relate with you, it's going to be much more difficult.
What about someone who doesn't have, quote unquote, a big personality or a great personality?
I don't think you need like a big one. I think the ultimate thing to do is just be like very, very honest. So let's say, for example, you don't have a big personality or like a quote unquote great personality. Let's say you're monotone and you're just like, yeah, da, da. Like I would lean into that and I would literally say to the camera, people say I'm monotone. I am. And like you could make it funny just by leaning into it. Don't avoid it. Don't try and hide it. Don't pretend you're not who you are. Be even more of who you are. Be the most you that you can possibly be and just be open and discuss it. Because the more you can discuss it and you know who does this really well actually is Ben Bruno.
Oh, I was going to get that wrong.
Who are you going to say?
I was going to say Sean Casey.
Sean Casey is, I think, probably even a better example. They're both actually really good. But Sean Casey is an amazing example of that. Monotone, looks right in the camera. He's not like doing a big personality. He's just like, he just bluntly, plainly says it without changes in facial expression. That's it. So I think but he leans into it. Like that's what he does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's exactly right. You don't need a big personality. I just think you need to be honest about what your personality is. And I think issues arise when you get embarrassed or shy and you try and hide it, because then it looks even worse. Mm-hmm. Then you just look uncomfortable.
I'm excited to get this growth guide put together. It'll be live in the mentorship by the end of March. So that's exciting.
That's it, brother. What's going on with you?
Dude, not much. Was gone for 10 days. Had a bunch of days with Gary out east and some family time, and just got back yesterday afternoon. And
you're traveling a lot.
I'm traveling a lot. I know. Although it's going to slow down. It's going to slow down here. Because my wife is pregnant, Jordan.
Oh, let's go.
The audience doesn't know how many of those moments we've had over the last several months that just we're like, nah, don't even include that. But yeah, she's due in May, so it's coming up here. But
coming up.
Yeah.
Man, I've been waiting for you to say this on the podcast. Oh, you've said it, but then we just cut it from the episode. But I'm excited that hasn't happened yet in this episode, and we're keeping it in there. Mike's wife is pregnant, due in May. So travel's going to slow down, man. How are you feeling?
Travel's got to slow down. I feel good, bro. I'm excited. Yeah.
Do you want to say the gender or no?
It's going to be very different. Baby girl.
Baby girl. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Yeah. It's so funny. You and I, for people who've been listening for a long time, know we talk about fear and anger all the time. And, there's something about when you and I are having a conversation where I don't have either of those emotions. So I feel like they're both at zero anytime we talk about it. But I recognize... No, you're going to like this. Because I recognized recently I had like a slight wave of, 15% fear, I guess you would call it. Just a real realization around providing, and and I don't even think it was a wave of fear. It was a quick
now you talk
fear.
Yourself out of the fear.
Yeah, because I don't like fear. But there was a moment of like, oh man, should I like really start making content? Just like,
Nah, I don't need to.
but maybe. And the way that things are changing, and I told you about the conversation at Gary's offsite with his team there, the conversations we were having about AI and various people's positions on AI and how it will affect the fitness industry. I'm still a huge believer in one-on-one coaching being about the relationship between the coach and the client, and that being something that can't be replaced by technology, at least in the foreseeable future. So I'm not worried on that side, but yeah, we're very excited, and you know, I mean, you've been through it. I assume will take me to another level in terms of responsibility and priorities and just where my mind is on a day-to-day and minute-to-minute basis.
Do you have any preliminary thoughts on changes that might be happening, on things that are going through your head? Like, what do you think? You're going to be a dad, dude.
I feel like I said enough for this episode. I feel like that was
okay. Should we put that in the title? Should we put like Mike's going to be a dad in the title?
No. Easter egg.
Okay.
Only for the real listeners.
Okay. All right. I like that. We'll put Instagram growth guide in the title, and a lot of people will want to listen to it because people are obsessed with social media. And then they'll be like, "Oh my God, Mike is gonna have a baby."
Yeah. Should we dive into the little Q&A?
Thoughts on the Gulf of Mexico being renamed? This is from Louis Griffith.
Comical. I don't have like strong opinions either way on that one. The move from Twitter to Instagram was a real move away from consuming politics to like consuming things that are funny, things that are creative, and things that are by people I know or like used to know kind of thing. And that was a real refresher after an election year and then an election, and yeah.
Got it. So no real thoughts on it.
Is it a real subject?
What do you mean?
Are people up in arms about it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think people are up in arms about... listen, no matter what, no matter who's in office, the other side is always going to be up in arms. If a Republican's in office, the Democrats are going to be up in arms. If a Democrat's in office, the Republicans are going to be up in arms. And no matter what they do, there's always going to be anger. So yeah, it's a real topic. My uneducated take, I will admit this is uneducated. It seems ridiculous.
the change in name?
Yeah. Like it seems a little bit ridiculous. Now, I do know there is more to it. I do know that there is like a great deal of what is funded there, and what happens there is funded and done through the United States, which from what I have been able to gather through my minimal and uneducated background is where it's coming from. Like, hey, we want this to be named after who's really funny and supporting it. But I also think that on the list of priorities of what needs to be done, it's like what we decide to call it is not of the utmost importance, to say the least. So in my uneducated opinion, I think it's a little bit ridiculous, and it's more done just to rile up the people who he knows is going to rile up. That's what my thoughts are.
Interesting.
Which is like, then the question is like, okay, do you want your president to be spending their time doing that? Which, go down that whole rabbit hole. But like, in my very uneducated opinion, I would like to sit down with him privately, and which is obviously never going to happen. Hey, Don, so tell me, like, why did you actually do this? Like, because I have a feeling there are reasons that are not public.
4D chess.
Like things that are going on behind the scenes.
Or he's just trolling. Or it's just exactly what it appears to be.
Or it could be exactly that. Yeah. Sort of like how he's been calling Canada like the 51st state or
oh yeah.
Like, which is also like it's crazy, man. Some of the stuff. So yeah, I mean, based on my uneducated experience or uneducated thoughts, I think it's just a little bit ridiculous. But
that feels more like, I know it kind of developed into something, and then you had the Four Nations hockey stuff, and so there's a little bit of rivalry there, which there always is. But that feels more like a jab at Trudeau than it does at the people of Canada. Who
100%. Yeah.
incredible in all of
Correct.
my experience.
Well, I
And
mean, yeah, correct. I mean, even the conservatives in Canada seem to be like, great. Da, da, da. Then the liberals in Canada were like, fuck you. We're never
oh, is
coming
that how
over.
it was? Got
That's
it.
what I saw. But I mean, I'm sure I'm sure, listen, we all see different things. But I saw the liberals in Canada were like, absolutely not. And the conservatives were like, let's go.
Interesting. You see that on Instagram?
Yeah. 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 But everyone's feed is so different, man. We all really are in different worlds. Like I look
Remember when
at
I
different
predicted
people's
that?
feeds. Yeah, it's really we all live in completely different realities.
But it's only getting started. There's going to be a point
Yeah.
where we don't even see, there's going to be so much content that we don't even see the same stuff.
I think that's already like
No, but there will be
even
overlaps in posts. You'll send me something. I'm like,
yeah,
aha,
yeah,
I
yeah,
saw
yeah.
that. I think there's a world where there's going to be such supply that
Yeah.
we're all only seeing our own stuff.
And the AI videos are pretty they're crazy. There was one AI video that was going around of people didn't know it was AI. But there was a video that looked 100% real of celebrities who were after Kanye came out with his anti-Semitic, like
His Nazi, his
most recent
swastika
his swastika
t-shirt.
shirt, yeah. Basically, there was like Jerry Seinfeld and a bunch of other celebrities were wearing this shirt that was saying like "fuck you, Kanye," basically.
Oh,
Scarlett Johansson, all
I
these
heard about
people,
this. It was fake.
and it was completely fake, but it looked
like the COVID thing.
100% real.
Yeah.
It looked completely real, so much that I think I heard Scarlett Johansson had like a lawsuit being like, you can't have this. Like I didn't do that.
Good for her. Get him.
Yeah.
It would be really good if these platforms came up with a system for verifying the authenticity of content somehow.
Yeah, but then the question is essentially it's a new fact checker thing, right? Where it's like now they're basically being like, "Oh, we're saying this is fake," but what else is it's
deciding whether or not a statement is true or false is different than there is an objective yes or no, as to like,
I'm just
did
saying,
this
what if
video
they lie? I'm saying, what if they lie? I'm not.
Yeah.
I completely agree. It's objectively different, but I'm wondering if it's like in order to get their narrative across, they'll say it's real
Like
when it's
this
actually
video
not.
that's actually real was AI.
Yeah,
And this one that's
yeah.
I don't know how they're going to do it. Yeah,
It's crazy.
wild world.
Someone said, "How do you, Lisa? You betcha. How do you plan your social media?" I'll take this one, Mike. I'll give you. I don't. I shouldn't say I don't. I have one day a week where I film YouTube videos with my videographer. And before I had a videographer, I would do something similar where I would like plan out a longer form YouTube video. But for my short form, it's never been planned. It's literally just like, what do I see? What do I feel passionate about making content about? And if I don't feel passionate about making content today, what question can I answer that I know people are struggling with? That's literally it. And I just make new content every day. And I do think about it more recently. I've been thinking about it from this perspective because I've been in my mind of like, man, what do I do? Like, what do I do during the day? And I'm trying to like, I've been doing this thing. I saw this, I think his name is Eugene.
Wait, you were just having like a moment of reflection about how you spend your time?
Yeah. I was like, what do I do? Like, what do I do?
Where were you when you had this moment?
On the couch. I was just on the couch. And what's this guy's name? Eugene. What's his last name? Eugene Tio? Is it? He's a really nice guy. I like this. We've interacted a few. Yeah, Eugene Tio. A really smart guy. He has a big audience. I saw him post something that I found at first a little bit odd. And I was like, you know what? I want to try it. He does this thing on his watch where he starts the day. And as soon as he wakes up, he hits his timer on his watch. And then it'll start going. And so for the first task, he'll just do it. And however long it goes, once that first task is done, he'll lap it for the second task. And then he'll do that until the second task is done and then lap it. And so then by the end of the day, he has an itemized, timed list of how long it took him to do each task that day. And he went through and this is what I did, this is what I did, this is what I did. And at first I was like, man, that seems like obsessive. But he had written, it was on his stories. He's like, I'm not doing it like to force myself to rush. I'm literally just curious to see how long it's taking me and what I'm doing at the end of the day. I was like, I'm going to try that. Number one, it was crazy how many fucking things I was doing throughout the day. But number two is it's really when I'm making content.
Was he labeling them or just?
Yeah, he labeled it.
Oh, okay.
He labeled it.
Cool.
Yeah. Like I've always said, making content takes a while. It's even longer than I thought. I was like, for even a shorter video that like I thought was taking 30 minutes, it's like an hour and a half. And so now I'm comparing this to like a quote unquote average person's workday or a normal person's workday, like where they're at the office or whatever, like a generally perceived normal job. It's like that takes up a huge portion of your workday. Like I would say probably between 2 to 3 hours just on a single post. And I do that every single day. So it's mainly just every day. I know this is one thing I have to do. This is part of my job. And so I take the time, I sit down, what am I going to make, all this stuff. And I don't plan it other than my one day of YouTube shooting. But that's it. Everything else is just day to day. This is what's got to get done.
You probably have some kind of creative process that is just habitual at this point where, you get yourself in a mental place to make content. For you, I would imagine it's through conversation and maybe movement. So go for a walk, like talk, get the juices flowing. And then it's like, all right, I feel like I'm in a place where I want to make content or I can, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can just roll out of bed cold and like rip it.
No, I need to get up. I take Curtis out. I go outside with him. As I'm outside with him walking, I'm thinking about what I'm going to make content on. But the main thing that helps me figure out what I want to make content on is all throughout the day, I am finding posts that I'm seeing from other people or comments that I'm seeing, and I'm sending them to myself. So at any point in time, if I don't know what to make content on, which is basically every day, unless something, maybe one in every 20 days, I'll know like, oh, I've got to make content on this. But 19 out of 20 days, I'm going into my own DMs that I DM myself or my own text messages with myself. And I'm looking at posts that I've seen, things that I want to correct, things that I want to discuss, comments that I've seen. And that's what inspires me. It's like, oh, all right, I've got to do this. But like, I rarely want to make, maybe 2 out of every 2 days in a month, I'm excited to make content for Instagram. Maybe 2.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time, I'm like, just part of the job.
It's work.
Got to do it. Yep. Just work.
I will say that, and you have kind of a make at least one thing every day, most days is a target. But having doesn't have to be a content calendar or a schedule, but some kind of deadline is going to lead to you producing more over a fixed time period, which is going to lead to you getting better at making content, which is going to make your future content better, which is going to make you grow faster. So having some kind of like, all right, I want to be posting at least at this frequency on these platforms as a goal has always worked well for me. Whether that was daily vlogging or whether that was once a week videos with a videographer, going Facebook, YouTube, but any kind of system was beneficial.
Yeah, agreed. It's something to hold yourself accountable to.
Yeah. And just, there's, because of the creativity involved and like, we're all part artist and part business. Some of it's like 95-5, some of it's 50-50, but a lot of people have a natural tendency to think something isn't good enough or to procrastinate or to say, I'll do it tomorrow if you don't have a deadline. It's just easy to negotiate with yourself and not make the thing.
Correct. 100%.
I read a super interesting article the other day. I believe the title is, What Do You Want to Want?
I want to be interested in climate change books. And I just can't get into it.
Why do you want to want that?
Because it's such a controversial topic and there's so many conflicting beliefs about something that is, very important, and I want to read both sides, and I want to be able to form my own educated opinion.
Got
And
it. Because you want to know the truth on that
yes,
subject.
yep.
Cool.
And no one has made it interesting. No one. Not to me, at least.
Yeah, that's
And I don't want to read I don't want propaganda clips. I don't want emotional based arguments, because both sides make these emotional based arguments. It's and I don't know. I don't want that. I want to know the science. I want to know what's actually going on. We talk about carbon dioxide, but also we need carbon dioxide, and how much carbon dioxide, and then fucking what's his name? The guy from The Inconvenient Truth. What was his name?
Michael Moore?
No, not Michael Moore. Inconvenient. Al Gore. Al Gore in The Inconvenient Truth. He's talking about how all the ice caps are going to be gone.
Al Gore produced An Inconvenient Truth?
Yeah. Al Gore, yeah. All the stuff that he says in there is this: by 2020, all these things are going to be gone. And now they're not gone at all. And so there's that side, but then there's the other side, and it's man, I want to know the truth. I just want to know, and it's just I want to know that.
Cool.
What do you want to want?
Not that.
What is it? What do you want to want?
I'm not sure.
You gotta want to want something.
Not. It's
do you
not
want to work hard? Do you want to be
I used to, out of a place of anger. I actually saw a really interesting Kobe Bryant clip about basically, I think he is the using negative emotion as fuel for worldly accomplishment. I think he's the definition of that. Mm-hmm. He's that concept personified. No, I mean, no, I don't think I want to work hard.
Okay.
I don't want to sit at a computer for 14 hours every single day and just build my business. I guess that's how I think of working hard right now. I can't believe I'm about to say this word, but a more holistic and healthier approach that involves more facets of life.
Church. Do you want to go to church more?
I wouldn't say that. I would say I was coming from the perspective of, I guess you could go down that route, but more so first, we're not going to get into this in this podcast. But the list that I made when I was thinking about this they all ended up not being things that I wanted. They all were things that I wanted to be. They weren't things I wanted to have, and they weren't things I necessarily, some of them were wanting to do, but which is why I thought yours was so interesting, because yours was a wanting to know about something, but they were all wanting to be. No, when I said holistic, I mean moving more, things that I kind of already do, but maybe could just do a better job of.
Makes total sense.
What I think is far more interesting than my personal opinion on it, though, was what this author, by the way, his name's Kyle Eschenroder, the four, this 4 areas framework he had was, instead of wanting fame, wanting to make change or make an impact.
Instead of fame. I thought you said instead of wanting change, to make fame. Okay, got it. Okay, yep.
Instead of wanting fame, which is a comment. I mean, in the social media era, it's in Gen Z, it's the most, instead of wanting extreme wealth, wanting a frugal heart. And then they got into explaining a frugal heart, which I didn't understand. Basically being able to take joy in things that are free. Like
Yep.
sit there and like look at a bird on a tree for 15 minutes and be fully engrossed in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then they also went into like, they're not saying money's bad, but wanting extreme wealth. You see people who go down the route and then just keep moving the goalposts. And it's like, I
Yeah.
want 100 million. I want 500 million. I need $1 billion. I need all the billions. Instead of wanting to be extraordinary, wanting to be ordinary, which I still was probably like that's probably his most controversial one. And I still don't think I fully have my head wrapped around what he meant, because it feels very anti-American. Or like, the spirit and ethos we grew up, which is like,
Be the best you can be.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then instead of wanting an easy life, wanting struggle.
Well, I think that's antithetical from wanting to be ordinary. You can't both want to be ordinary and also want to struggle.
You'll have to read it, because I don't think ordinary and extraordinary do a good job of explaining the point he was trying to make. Like, I don't think the header on that one.
That wasn't the right words, you don't think?
No, I think he could have picked something a little bit different. He was trying to like, yeah. People, we'll link the article in the show notes.
I was thinking, it was funny when you said wanting to be ordinary instead of extraordinary. I had been thinking about something and I was sort of being like facetious or joking in my own head as I was thinking about it, but wanting to want to like almost like take the blue pill, to just like have such a short-sighted and narrow worldview that it's actually easier to, you're only viewing the world from your own lens.
Ignorance is bliss.
Like, just ignorance is bliss. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And like, whereas the more you know, the more you're educated, almost like the more empathy you can have for others, and the more things become so much more complex. And it's like, I was having this debate in my head. Well, would I want that? But then when you have that, like, you're giving up so much. And then, so like, is your life actually better? Like, it's just, I was having a war in my head. And then when he said wanting to be ordinary instead of extraordinary, it almost hit home from the perspective of, when you're ordinary, it's almost, or when you're chasing ordinary as opposed to extraordinary, you are, in some sense, it doesn't necessarily mean you're taking the blue pill, but it does mean that you are settling for an easier life, but also potentially a better, or maybe a healthier life, maybe not a better life.
I don't know if it's easier.
I don't know.
One thing he said was, a lot of people who seek extraordinary are doing so because they hate who they are. And so he was trying to frame it as like not wanting to run away from who you are and basically make your accomplishments. We'll have to read the article. I'm definitely not doing a good job on that point, as I don't fully understand it either.
I like the concept of it a lot. It's definitely thought-provoking.
Well, especially because what we want are just our base desires, right? Mm-hmm. I want to be entertained, so I'm going to scroll. I want to be satiated, so I'm going to eat the ice cream. I want to, all of these like cheap dopamine human instincts that we need to overcome if we want to live a great life, I guess you would say. Not want to waste your life.
A meaningful life, a fulfilling life.
Yeah.
I want positive feedback. Okay, well, pause. Why do you want the positive feedback? Maybe you would want. You don't need anyone's feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good one right there. But it would be far better to not need anyone's feedback and keep making stuff because you want to do good rather than I don't need people's feedback. I'm just not going to make stuff to get the feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He also talks about how this is like a multi-year and multi-decade process. So we're not making these changes overnight, but basically the longer you have a desire or like adopt a desire, the more ingrained it becomes. And then we just live in these loops for our entire life without even really recognizing it.
Like the longer you give into that desire, like
I guess give in is a good, I think, that's a great way to frame it.
So then the question is it better to resist it?
Or replace it.
Right.
Even just thinking about the question is something that I hadn't spent much time thinking about in my life, and I don't necessarily see others doing a ton of. They spoke about mimetic desire, which is adopting the desires of the people around you, which is like a keeping up with the Joneses mindset.
Yeah. I see that becoming like I'm trying to see where does this go? Where is like the logical end of this? And I see it becoming like sort of like a monk where they just completely relinquish all desires, and you know what I'm talking about?
That could be where it ends up for some.
I feel like that's the logical extreme. You get to a point where it's like anything you want, no, we don't give into any desire whatsoever.
But what if you want to help millions of people become healthier and live longer? You're not going to do that meditating in a cave. You need to be
correct.
You need to be out there helping people. But then it's battling the desires you don't want while hanging on to what you want to want. Yeah, it's not easy, but who said it's supposed to be?
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, because that's the one issue with, I think, of hiding in a cave. And I know they're not hiding in a cave. That's not fair. I'm not saying that. But like isolating yourself to a point in which you're preventing yourself from actually helping other people. And now it's like you've prioritized you so much, and maybe your relationship with God, but to the point where you've now isolated yourself from other human beings and from providing to the world.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know a lot about monks. Like maybe the top monk helps like the junior monks become better monks. So they're like helping others
within their community. Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, your example of this guy meditating on the top of a hill by himself for his whole life compared to, if you think back to Zelda, like just you got your machete and you're just chopping weeds every single day and like grinding through every hour.
That's really interesting. I like that a lot. That you could think about that for a long time. It never ends.
Because your wants change. There's no end.
Yeah. And with every choice comes another want. And with every want, well, what do you want to want? And why do you want that want?
What do you mean with every choice comes another want?
So it's like every time I want to want this, I don't want to do this. Okay, so you choose not to do this, but you go the other way instead. Cool. Now you have other options. Okay, so now here's the next step. I'm here. I chose this path. Now here are the other options I can choose. Why do I want to do that? Okay, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. So every step, every choice you make, you're presented new options, new places to go, and new wants and new desires. Like there's just no end to it.
And maybe there's not supposed to be. Maybe you're supposed to be pursuing a direction rather than an endpoint. Like if you're continually moving away from desires you don't want and continually moving towards desires that you consciously chose as better for you rather than, your animal instincts decided were better for you. It seems like that's a good way to live.
Yeah, that's a great point. That it's not about the end. It is about moving towards the way you want to go.
Directionally, yeah.
I like that.
I actually had a question in my DMs.
Oh, yeah?
Someone was told by a trainer that they should not track collagen protein as protein, but that they should just not track it. Is that right or wrong?
I thought the answer that you gave a long time ago made the most sense to me, which is if you're having it as like a serving or occasionally having it, then you should count it. But if it's making up like 40% of your protein, well, that's a fucking problem.
You have a great memory about things that matter. How did you pull that? That was years ago. And we haven't talked about it since. I think so.
That's just made sense to me. Like if it's a small percentage of your protein intake, then yeah, who cares?
Cool. Jordan answered it just like that.
Well, you answered it. I just said what you said. That was literally what you said.
That memory.
Do you water your grass?
I have a sprinkler system.
Yeah, you have a sprinkler system.
That was here in the ground when we bought the house. And yep. Do you water your grass?
The guy came over yesterday because they put the irrigation in and all of that. And I mean, we just put sod down. And so they're showing me how it works. And it's a lot.
It's a lot?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Once you get it set up though, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
The
yeah,
water's
I think the guy
on
made
these
it seem more
days at this time.
Yeah.
There's
exactly.
there's a bunch of zones.
Yes. Okay, good. Okay,
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There are these zones and like this, yeah. But then there are like different types. There are sprinklers and there's bubblers and there's this and there's different
I'm
ones.
not on that fancy level. I'm not on that.
I shouldn't be because
I'm
I
not
think
on
it's
that
all
inner
going to die.
No, it's not.
I think it's all going to die. They put trees in and the builder was like, "Did you water your trees?" I was like, "I need to water my trees." He was like, "Unless you want them to die." I was like,
Do they get enough from the sprinklers? Do the trees need more than the grass?
"Yeah, apparently." He was like, "Yeah, if you're just out there, stand out there with the hose for a little bit and just put some." I was like, "How much?" He's like, "Drench it." I was like, "Okay." I don't know.
How many trees did they plant?
The HOA required us to plant 3.
HOAs. What a farce.
Yeah, you're preaching, bro. But like they're baby trees. Like
It's good to have trees for sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
The idea of buying a property and then having this regulatory body being like, you need to have at least 3 trees.
Bro, maybe a tree would have prevented that kid from ramming his truck through our fucking fence and going into our pond.
That was hilarious.
But then maybe he would have died, so maybe that wouldn't be good. But yeah, dude, day 3 or day 4 living here.
That was crazy.
Yeah,
I was about to go to sleep, and I get this picture of a truck, like halfway in a pond with these skid marks in the grass, and this fence just totaled. I immediately, because I don't even know what color your truck is. I've never seen your truck. I call you, thinking that you drove your truck into a pond.
And I'm just like, here.
I'm like making sure everyone's okay. Was the family in the car? What's going on? And then you were like, no, it was some kid. You see this, you can see the back of him in the picture, but he's like,
he's got a full head of hair, skinny neck.
Skinny neck. That's the identifier. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. You're good. Like, I'm going to bed. And you're like, you don't want to hear about it? Come on.
I was like, dude, what the hell, man? Day 3, kid just, and then someone DM me and they're like, consider yourself lucky because like a couple of years ago, a car went 100 miles an hour into her living room.
Oh my gosh.
Like, okay. It's
terrible.
Perspective shifts.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You win.
Seriously.
Yeah. That was crazy.
But no, I went from like making sure that your family was alive to like, I'm sorry that a 16-year-old knocked down your fence, but I had my mother-in-law talking to me about
buddy.
Well, no, there were moving pieces. It was like we were putting stuff away in the kitchen, and then I was trying to get to bed. Yeah.
Amers J said, I read something about microplastics in her brains. How worried should we be? This is a you question for sure.
I don't think we should be that worried. Like,
oh wow, I didn't think you were gonna go that. I thought you were gonna go the other way.
I mean, it's this is a question where the overwhelming majority of people in the West are not getting the 5 most important things right. And if you're not getting the 5 most important things right, then getting an Ice Mountain water bottle from the gas station now and again compared to drinking it out of a glass bottle isn't going to make or break your health, longevity, hormones, endocrine system, etc. There's definitely something there. The research is also inconclusive and like very complex. Peter Attia and his team of researchers, it was maybe like 10 of them, spent weeks like going through microplastic research, and the outcomes were inconclusive. So what do I know? Like, yeah, I'm not, I don't know. We'll find out, right?
You see, he recently pulled back on his claims on ice baths.
Good.
Fucking finally.
What, did he have fat loss claims around ice baths?
I don't think he had fat loss claims around them. I think there were more of like the longevity type claims around them.
Okay.
And he was like, we don't see that, at least not to date, but we do see it for the sauna. And I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. Because the cardioprotective benefits of the sauna, as opposed to the
Jordan just like that confirmation bias. He's like,
that's exactly it.
I like
it's
sauna.
100%.
I don't like ice bath.
I hate the ice bath. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool that he pulled back on it too. He was like, hey, like, I just want to make you aware there are.
He's done that over the years.
Yeah.
He used to be a big keto guy. He pulled back on that. Like, I feel like he's, I don't know. I'm not in like this like evidence-based circle jerk of the fitness industry where there's like people who they hate and people who they like and whatever. But everything I've seen from Attia is 90% solid and seems to be intellectually honest from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Why is he hated by that crew?
I think one of the major issues, which I honestly I understand, and because I'm not a fan of it either, is he's made a big thing out of regular everyday people who are not diabetics tracking their blood sugar with CGMs. And he either owns a CGM company or is partnered with them. So he's financially invested significantly into getting more people to be tracking their blood sugar.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, and it's just not necessary unless you're
cool. We can throw that.
That's the one thing that
we can throw that in the 10%.
Yeah. That was there, and there was one post I saw. And by the way, I'm just nitpicking just because you asked, but I like, from what I've seen from him, I like him a lot. I really enjoy a lot of what he says. I agree with a lot of it. I've learned a lot from him. The only other post I saw from him that I didn't like was he was shitting on the elliptical.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And the thing that got me was like, if you don't like it, that's fine. But the thing that got me is he said it creates a lot of hip injuries for people. And I was like, what in the world are you talking about? Like, I don't know a single person who's ever gotten injured on the elliptical. That I know many people who've gotten injured on a treadmill. Many people, many people. I know many people who've had issues because of being on a bike for too long, hip flexor issues, lower back issues, all that stuff. I don't know anybody in the world. I've never once met someone who said I was injured on the elliptical. It is literally the lowest impact, one of the safest options out there. So that was the only other thing that I've heard him say that I was like, that's stupid. Otherwise, I actually really do like him a lot.
Good answer. We got a mentorship Q&A.
Let's go.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week every Tuesday. Please give us a follow if you're not already on Instagram. Please. At Personal Trainer Podcast. Jordan posts daily there. Bangers from this pod. So thank you. And have an amazing week.
See ya.